But is it William? Hello?
Hello.
Hello, William.
Is this me?
That's you.
Okay, I have a couple jokes.
Okay.
One
Seems
is
we're on that track anyway.
Israel was given, according to the Jewish version, he gave them Israel or Palestine. And yet, why do they call it the Holy Land? He gave Saudi Arabia and all the other Arab countries oil. Too bad he didn't give them the oily land. And also, I saw this thing at a Baptist church. It says, be an organ donor, give your heart to Jesus. And I added, and give your brain to Dr. Frankenstein. Okay, that's it. But I tell you, all these guys that ramble on with no proof, they really get on my nerves.
Mine too. But I'm gonna keep doing it because I really, I interrupted the caller. The caller interrupted me. Some people find that rather. I'm gonna go ahead and let you go, William, while I explain this. But thanks a lot for calling.
Bye.
Appreciate it.
I got one more joke since we're on that topic.
Okay, go.
Because it relates back to the earlier caller. Actually, the Jewish people are notorious for this. The question is, why does a Jew always answer a question with a question? The answer is, so what else should a Jew answer a question with? Okay, last one, I swear.
We actually talked about this a little bit yesterday on the Nonprofit Show, and I wanted to touch on it here because it all came up because of comments about this show. Mm-hmm. When you're having kind of one of these big, deep discussions with somebody where there's some kind of claim about the supernatural, the existence of God, whether or not bread falls buttered side up, whatever it is, the second somebody makes a statement that is either unclear, unjustified, false, potentially confusing, or in some other way destructive to the construction of an argument that follows from it. In a format like this on the show, I've got to interrupt them. I've got to say, define this. I've got to say, give your justification this. I've got to say, I don't agree with this and here's why. Because if not, then I let them go on to build an entire argument only to try and worm my way back through every fallacy that followed to get back to the original point. The example that I use, there's some people I've had a conversation with from my own family where the end result of this long conversation was for them to just openly say, we're closed-minded, we accept the Bible as God's truth unquestioningly, and that's the end of it. And my response is, then we shouldn't have bothered having any of that conversation. If you're willing to admit that you're closed-minded and you accept the Bible as God's truth unquestioningly, then what are we talking for? You already know that I don't. And if you want to convince me of why I should, that's where we need to start. If that's the premise that I reject, then I have to stop you there and have you justify it. Now, when somebody claims, well, you believe there's no God, and you do that based on faith. No, actually, atheism in its simplest form is a lack of belief or a disbelief in claims that are unjustified, that being the reason that you disbelieve. There's also active atheism, positive atheism, strong atheism, where you believe actively that there are no gods. I happen to fall into that category, and I can give reasons to justify that belief. But I don't believe that absolutely. I don't believe it without question. My reasons and evidence that go towards that argument doesn't stand up as the absolute ultimate truth. It's simply what I believe to be true. And one of the biggest reasons is that, first of all, people define God in all kinds of different ways. So we need to define God to know what we're talking about.
We disbelieve in the Catholic God and the Protestant God.
Yeah. But the other thing is that because there are all these different beliefs about the existence of God, and none of them have managed to provide the single slightest bit of evidence that their belief is actually correct. They can't all be correct. Some of them are mutually exclusive. They can, however, all be wrong. Now, most of them claim that all of the other religions except theirs is wrong, or are wrong. And if that's the case, and they're all claiming this, then it seems to me that the most reasonable course of action, since I don't have any evidence to believe any of them are true, is to reject all of them. And that puts me in the position of having no claim about the existence of God that I have any reason to believe one exists. And in that case, I think I'm justified in believing, until shown differently, that there is no God, that there are no gods. I mean, if somebody, I'm plenty open to being convinced that I'm wrong. The only thing you have to do is, instead of calling in to say the research has been done, there's proof of God's existence, and then shuffling off to some non sequitur, actually provide that research, actually provide the proof that God exists. That's all it takes. As I said before, with regard to most callers, of the two of us, I'm the only one that's demonstrated that I can change my mind on the issue. Evidence is all it takes. Give me a good reasoned argument to believe that a God exists. I'll believe anything as long as there's a justification for it. The difference is that I care whether or not my beliefs are true or false. And something I talked to Steve about right before the show.
Yeah.
We've often said, and I kind of got this from Sam Harris and some others, that faith is the permission slip we give ourselves to believe something when we don't have a good reason. As soon as you have a good reason, faith is no longer needed. I no longer believe that. I think that that's perhaps not the best definition of faith. Faith is the excuse we give when we don't know what our reason is or don't want to have our reason examined. I don't believe that anybody believes anything without some actual reason. To claim that they don't have a reason and they just believe it on faith, I don't buy that. I think they've got a reason, and it may be good or bad. They're just either unwilling to say what it is or unwilling to examine it. So faith is the cop-out that people give when they don't want to have to justify what their belief is. And that may actually be different. We've got like 2 minutes of the show left with Steve. You there, Steve? Oh,
yes, I am.
I got 30 seconds. I got to let you go.
On the subject of hatred of other groups, I wanted to throw in about pride in your own group.
Yeah.
Which is sort of the positive side. And I'm talking about not pride in your accomplishments, but just, for instance, proud to be an American.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, unwarranted blind patriotism.
Bumper stickers
or
that say "Power of Pride." Pride doesn't have power.
Yeah, I got to let you go. We only got 10 seconds left in the show. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks to the crew. We'll see you all in a week. And if you want to join us at El Arroyo for dinner, please come on down.
So long.